So I took my 3 children to Cultus Lake, and there I met my sister, who brought along her 5-year-old boy, Jacob, and his little buddy, 5-year-old Emma. And while we were there, my son, my youngest, Alexander, with all seriousness, comes up to me and says, Mom, have you ever noticed that Jacob's head is really big? Seriously, Mom, why is that? And right away, my initial reaction as all parents, Alexander, don't say that. You're going to hurt Jacob's feelings. That's mean. But he just said to me, no, I'm serious, Mom. His head's really big, and actually, so is Adam's. Why? Why is that? Now, the sheer objectivity that he displayed made me pause. So I actually looked, and guess what? Their head did seem rather big. So I explained to Alexander that Jacob's 5, and he's about this size. And when he reaches his full adult size, he will be about this size. But even now, his brain is about 95 to 100% its adult size. Yeah. And I thought that would end this discussion. Okay? Because that's it. That's the answer. But no, this just inspired a million more whys. Until I grew impatient and I snapped. And I said, oh, their heads are big because, like all kids, you guys ask way too many questions. And then pause. And I could see Alexander's wheels spinning. Oh, he was busy in there. Until he says to me, so, if we stop asking questions, will our heads shrink? And I thought, actually, yeah. That's a profound, simple truth. When we stop asking questions, our heads will shrink. The truth is, we don't grow into becoming thinkers. We grow out of thinking. When a child receives an answer or response, it's never definitive, conclusive. They haven't yet accepted the illusion that thinking has an endpoint. To them, thinking is fluid, it's constant, it's a continuation of connecting ideas, bridging gaps in their knowledge, and this constant engagement in questioning allows them to piece together different elements and create new pictures and new patterns. Sadly, we grow out of this thinking. Actually, more appropriately, we are conditioned out of this level of inquiry. Our exposure to learning comes from an answer-driven school system, a system that rewards having the correct answer. So we eventually accept the illusion that thinking has an endpoint, and we end any further questioning and examining. Because our schools are so focused on teaching us primarily what to think, as opposed to how to think, around middle school, student motivation and engagement plummets, drops like a stone. And that initial intensity for inquiry becomes numb. And we as educators are very much aware of this. And we try to implement critical thinking into our classrooms. And really, critical thinking is just this evolution of the childlike quality of asking why. It is the skill of objectively analyzing, interpreting, examining, and evaluating information based on reason and logic. It's less concerned with the right answer and more focused on connecting ideas, approaching issues by interweaving different modes of thought, looking through multiple lenses to give us a different vantage point. And that vantage point can make the picture more clear or make the pattern even larger. And that's what we call insight. Now, I can't just stand up here and tell you what critical thinking is. I would like to demonstrate how to think critically. And I'm going to use a standard assignment that you would use in English class, because I am an English teacher. And let's pretend that you just read Shakespeare's play Macbeth, and you were asked to write a character sketch on Lady Macbeth. Now, I'm using Shakespeare here, not because I'm a big fan, and I did actually name my firstborn William. Thank God he was a boy, or she'd be called William. But no, I'm using Shakespeare because usually when I mention that I'm going to use this play, I get the collective eye roll. Oh my God, why are we doing this? This is so irrelevant. I'm never going to use this. And I want to prove to you that relevance depends on how we utilize material. And another reason I'm using this play is because Lady Macbeth is a fascinating character. She gives me goosebumps. In fact, if you Google top 10 female villains of all time, she makes almost everyone's list. So here we have a strong, fierce woman. She wants to be Queen of Scotland. So she manipulates her husband to actually kill the king. He becomes king, thereby making her queen. And oddly enough, once the deed is done and she becomes queen, she disappears from the rest of the play. And we don't actually see her until the very end, Act 5, when she's completely insane and she commits suicide. So there's a lot of meat here. So let's just take that assignment. Remember, character qualities of Lady Macbeth, and let's just name a few. So the fact that she wants to be queen, she wants power, let's say she's ambitious. Then the fact she's able to manipulate her husband to actually commit murdering the king, we'll say that she is deceitful and cunning. And we can't ignore the fact that she's insane. So we can even connect the previous two qualities and say that Lady Macbeth's ambition that can only be actualized through deception leads to guilt that causes her insanity and eventual self-demise. That sounds pretty good. Now, all we have to do is take each quality and support them through the text. We can't do all of them, but we'll do ambition. So let's just say we can prove she's ambitious because she wants to be queen. So she craves power, authority, influence, prestige, and she's willing to do whatever it takes to get her goal. According to the text, she will even, if necessary, turn her breast milk into poison. Or another line is, she'd be willing to tear her infant from her feeding breast, look into its gummy smile, and bash its head in, if necessary. So yeah, she's quite something. So we can say that Lady Macbeth's ambition takes all priority at the cost of everything in her life, which erodes her humanity, and she becomes soulless, truly evil, a villain. Now, this is a correct understanding of the play, but none of this is actually critical thinking. There is a big difference when students just identify ambition as opposed to asking, why is she ambitious? What fuels her? What motivates her? What drives her to these obsessive heights? And why does she even reference breast milk and poisoning, killing her child when it seems completely unnecessary? So to examine this line of questioning, we want to look at the lines objectively. And when we look objectively, we no longer see these texts there just to simply prove she's evil. But we see that these texts relate to the fact that she's a woman. She actually demands the gods to unsex her, to take away the fact that she's a woman. So now this examination requires us to look at her through multiple modes of thought. So let's take a sociological lens and connect the knowledge that we have of the lack of power and status of women during Shakespeare's time to Lady Macbeth's lines. And when we look at her through this vantage point, we see that she's not just an evil, ambitious character, but she's a character who has a keen sense of social awareness. She recognizes the restrictions and limits placed on women. She understands that at that time, the highest form of ambition she can aspire to is to marry well and to produce heirs, so to become wife and mother. And this is what fuels her. Those lines in reference to killing her child and poisonous breast milk are not there to prove she's evil. It's there to prove that she recognizes that being a woman is the roadblock to her attaining any significant power. No wonder she says, unsex me. She's practically saying, unchain me from these restrictions imposed upon my gender. And this new vision we have lends itself to new patterns. We can no longer say that, her guilt over pursuing empty ambitions leads to her mental breakdown and suicide. Okay? We do have to acknowledge that she feels some sort of guilt. Okay? But the guilt serves an interesting purpose. It actually exonerates her from being evil. We can't just say that she's innately evil, lost her humanity, and soulless, but at the same time, she feels so much remorse and guilt that she actually kills herself. Okay? So let's look at this notion of pursuing hollow and empty aspirations. And I ask you guys, is attaining power, influence, status, is that empty? No. It's the position and title of queen that's empty. Her realization that taking the crown did not fulfill any of those qualities that she aspired towards is perhaps what caused her insanity. Remember, when she becomes queen, Shakespeare writes her off from the rest of the play. She no longer has any significance in terms of driving the plot forward. She has no lines, so she's invisible and she's muted. And we see her at the end when she's insane and she killed herself. But guess what? Even her death is off stage. Even the queen's death doesn't deserve 1 minute on stage. She's completely insignificant and irrelevant. So perhaps it's the knowledge that the conflict between her strong sense of self-definition and this awareness that she can never have more power outside of the domestic roles of wife and mother that is unresolvable is what causes her mental breakdown. The final acceptance that it is pointless to try to fuse together these very fractured consciousness is what perhaps fractures and splinters her own mind. Now, we've come a long way from character qualities, and we're actually examining possible causes for Lady Macbeth's insanity and suicide. And I just want you to understand that the capacity to get to this level of understanding depends on your ability to ask insightful questions. And I don't want students to be afraid of being penalized for not echoing what you think teachers want to hear. First of all, if you approach an assignment with the aim of trying to demonstrate what you believe your teachers want, you will fail from the very beginning. You will fail to generate any independent and critical thought. Second of all, and students tell me this all the time, I'm so scared because my teacher wants 3 qualities and that's it. And guess what I say? You are doing what your teacher wants. You're meeting those requirements, but you're doing so much more. You are exceeding expectations. You will be 1% of the students who does this. And last, in all my years of teaching and helping other teachers with their classroom instruction, I have never met another colleague who would penalize a student for handing an assignment that is insightful, well articulated, supported, and organized for the mere fact that it doesn't align with his or her beliefs. Actually, that would be the greatest academic sin, because we as teachers, our job, our essential goal is to ensure that today's students become tomorrow's thinkers. And the only way that we can become thinkers is to tap back into that childlike intensity that we approach inquiry with. And to finally, just to quote my son, Alexander, we need to ensure that our heads do not shrink. We need to ensure that our heads keep getting noticing